joining me, Lois. I am excited to talk to you today about a topic that has been on everyone's mind since Thanksgiving, which is intentional vegging and feeling guilty about doing nothing. I wanted to talk to you a little bit today about how you overcome that and why you should give in.
Yes, absolutely. Giving in for sure. So yeah, this really stuck out to me because in the space of 3 days, I heard from two different people that they either were giving themselves flack or somebody else was giving them flack about not doing a ton over the Thanksgiving break. I was leaving my physical therapist's office, and the woman who is the receptionist there, really, really sweet lady. I said, oh, she asked me what I was doing for Thanksgiving. And then I asked her, and she said, you know what? I am just going to be in my pajamas watching Hallmark all weekend. And to that, I'm like, that sounds incredible. And then she said, yeah, my sister keeps getting on me like, oh, you should be sorting out your closet and you should be organizing. And I'm like, ooh, mm-mm. And she feels like she has to convince her sister and rationalize or justify why it's not only okay, but so important for her to be able to do whatever that means to her, whatever that relaxation, unplugging, recharging, whatever you want to call it, what that means to her. And then yesterday I was working with a leadership team where I'm helping them really kind of take that vision and make it a reality, right? Okay, we have this great vision, but what do we actually do to get there? So I came in and was saying hi to everyone yesterday, and I asked her the same question about Thanksgiving. She says, yeah, I really felt like I should be going through the house and doing some cleaning and stuff, but I just needed a break. And again, it was with this sense of, maybe guilt is a strong word, but a sense of like, oh, I probably should have done more, but feeling again like she has to justify or convince me that she needed it. And so it's okay that she took that time for herself and just chilled out. And I think it's so common for us to put an extraordinary amount of pressure on a weekend or a break. And it's almost this hyperactive sense of like, yeah, I had the best weekend ever. I went to yoga, then I went to brunch, and then I went on a hike, and then I got my dog a new toy. We played for 7 hours in a beautiful forested area. Then after that, I came back, did a 30-minute self-care routine. A candle was involved. They were baths, like, and you're just like, oh my gosh, like it sounds like you it's a whole thing that, all week we're scheduled and segmented and this thing after the next thing after the next. And I think people have this idea that in order to have the best weekend ever, the best break ever, it needs to actually be full of so many super relaxing things. Like, I need to be the most relaxed. I need to be the most chill. I need to do the most self-care. Like, oh my God. Okay. So my approach is like, let's take a step back from that. I think people also have a lot of guilt around the idea of vegging, like, oh, just vegging out, being a couch potato. All those have really, really negative connotations. And I understand where that comes from. I think what people are talking about is when we do something where we're just feeling quote unquote lazy, which again has a negative connotation, which I wholeheartedly disagree with. But when we're just sitting around and we're not doing anything and you just feel almost more schlubby at the end of it, or you just feel more uninspired, you do feel like you kind of wasted your weekend, or you feel guilty that you weren't doing anything, whatever it was, I get that that's, people feel like it should be something other than that, and that didn't recharge them. On the other hand, I think the visionary approach is what I lovingly refer to as intentional vegging. And the difference there is, again, it all comes back. I mean, such a pillar or hallmark of the visionary mindset is intentionality. And so it's so different to just say, like, I don't have anything planned. Brunch plans got canceled. I really don't want to go to yoga. Like, I don't even have a dog. So I guess just sit here and just like do whatever. And then you just feel crappy about it. And like, and then it's Monday again. The other intent just to be like, you know what? Like, I am so intentionally going to pajama it up. I will then proceed to watch an entire series that I don't even like know if I really will like. I'm going to eat popcorn. Maybe it's going to be caramel corn. I'm not going to answer the door when I don't like, it's such a different approach. And then you're just like, so like you are you are just embracing every moment of it. I remember back when I used to live alone in many different states and countries, I would say to myself, I'm going to do this thing until the very moment that I no longer feel like doing this thing. I'm going to lay on this couch languorously and read until the very moment that I feel like I want a snack. Like, I'm not going to predetermine that. I'm not going to plan to go on a walk later. I don't want to walk or go anywhere later. Or maybe I absolutely do want to do that, but I'm not going to predetermine any of that. I'm just going to I remember I had this amazing gray couch, and it was like the texture was so amazing. And it was just the perfect like lounge situation and the coziest blanket. I didn't have a dog at that time, but I absolutely loved to read. And I just remember loving being able to just completely get lost in that.
So it's almost like it's just as important to frame it as it is what you're actually doing. So at the end of the day, you could feel lazy, or you could feel like you fulfilled a day of intentional vegging and you are rested instead of feeling ashamed.
Yes. And yeah, exactly. And what that does is when you don't frame it up, when it doesn't feel intentional, when it feels reactive instead of proactive, is that you get to the end of the day. And now you haven't gotten the benefit of either of anything. So now you don't get the benefit of recharging because the whole time you kind of felt guilty, and you don't get the benefit of like doing a lot because you actually didn't do a lot. And so you just like you get the worst of both worlds. The other thing too is that your intentional vegging absolutely might be going to brunch and going to, if that's like truly, truly that for you, amazing, do it. But it all goes back to not shoulding all over ourselves and everyone else's definition of what a best weekend ever looks like, or most relaxing Thanksgiving looks like, and feeling like we have to compete with that, or that we have to measure up against that, or whatever that might be.
There are people who are climbing gigantic mountains and macrameing an entire bed quilt from scratch and gardening their hearts out. And I am just sometimes needing that rest and intentional vegging, even when it's a beautiful day out. That tends to be my trigger, where I think I should be out doing XYZ hardcore outdoor thing. And if I don't, I feel like I've wasted a beautiful day.
Yes. Yeah. And totally. There's a line in my vision that talks about, living the day down to its last drop. And which is actually like the best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup. And it like talks about like, that's why that phrase from when I was little, like down to the last drop. And anyway, but I've also had that same feeling. And I used to live in Colorado. We went to the same college for a short amount of time. And I still can't believe we didn't know each other, because we would have been best friends. But I remember thinking like, oh my God, son, can you just be gray? Like, can't you just make me feel okay for
one cozy day where I can not feel guilty drinking my hot chocolate in my PJs on the couch?
And so the same thing the other day, a few weekends ago, it was a gorgeous fall day in Norfolk. I mean, like out, like picture perfect. And I just knew we had been traveling. We had people in town that I was going to have a lot more traveling coming up. And I knew for me to live that day down to its last drop, it literally meant cuddling with our dogs and Tyler on the couch and watching an entire season. And I like don't like what TV watching is like not a thing, or like we don't even have a TV. We watch it on like a monitor. So, but again, I went into it that morning knowing that that's what I really needed. And again, there are also weekends where I wake up and I'm like, I really do, let's take the dog someplace. And I do want to be outside, and that's great. So it's not saying laziness is great, be lazy, and then that's the answer, or right. It's just really understanding what that looks like for you and being intentional around it, giving yourself the permission to do it, and recognizing that you having a really incredible weekend, or not even, it doesn't even have to be incredible, just like a great old weekend. Really, that's just what you want it to be and what you need it to be for you. And exactly, I love what you said about at the end of the day, rather than feeling ashamed, guilty, and regretful, you just get to feel like I totally lived my vision today. Like that totally was my definition of success for today. I made it happen. Ooh, it was good.
I love you.